everywhere.
Right? Why not,
I don't
right?
care.
I'll take that sponsorship.
Yeah,
Sartana, sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
Come by, surrounded by death coffees. So
Nice,
sponsored
nice.
by
Can you hear me?
Dunkin' Donuts.
The video's rolling.
Look, I'm not opposed to, if I run out of coffee at a show, I'll run down to Dunks and buy a pound.
Nice, nice.
We good for angle? Or too tight? Good?
Only problem is there's no fucking people.
Some of us like it.
We have the internet.
We do, we have the internet. We have the Toking Dead's going over there.
There we
so
go. Token Dead's going over there. We are in good shape. We ready?
I don't know.
Just give me the countdown and we're good to go.
As long as nobody starts stroking the mics, we're good.
Welcome to the Northeast Comic-Con Grassroots Indie Panel. I am your host, Johnny C. Feel free, come on in, have a seat, check it out.
You may win something.
You may win, you never know.
You may not.
That sounds like a threat.
Just take a free seat.
Feel free, sit down if you, yeah.
That
Feel
one?
free to run whenever you want. I'm out of here.
He took the security guard seat.
Yeah.
I was kidding.
So,
I'm security now.
oh yeah. Please have this man removed from the premise. No. So I'm your host, Johnny C.
That was on camera.
I got goosed by one of my first panelists over here. I'm just gonna have you guys go down the line and introduce yourselves.
I'm nobody.
Starting with this nobody over here.
I'm nobody.
Say it to the mic that you're nobody.
I am nobody. Actually, you know who I am, so I don't have to tell you.
Who are you?
He doesn't know who you are.
You'll see.
That's Ben. I'm Jeff.
Where are you guys from?
We are the Toking Dead.
Oh, right on.
Yes, the Toking Dead.
Excellent.
Weed-smoking zombies.
Weed smoking zombies. We'll get more into that. We're just
Yes.
gonna do brief introductions right now.
So I'm Chris Hebert from HB Comics.
I'm Alan Hebert from HB Comics.
Holy shit, they're brothers.
I know.
Makes you wonder what the B stands for, doesn't it?
I know.
Right?
So the point of the panel today is that all of these individuals here, including myself, we're all self-starters, we're all self-publishers. So we essentially have a concept, have a creation, and we take it upon ourselves to bring it out there and to produce it for the masses. That takes a lot of work, and it's not an easy process. So I figured I'd bring together some of this talent, some of these bright minds, some of these very successful self-starters to talk a little bit about the process, what they've done, how they've done that, and how they can succeed, how you could potentially succeed going forward if you have a project in your heart that you'd like to produce and make. So maybe let me start with the HB guys, Alan and Chris. Now you guys have your own label, your own publishing outfit. What made you guys go with that versus, say, seeking out publication elsewhere?
So that's since the very beginning. We always just wanted to do it ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is story-based too, because the story in our universe is sort of very dependent upon the setting having no superheroes in it, and then our characters being introduced and building mythology within our universe around essentially the appearance of supers into everyday life. So, it wouldn't, even if we were to throw a packet that had Laserman in it to Marvel, and they were like, oh, we'll publish it. So much of his story is based around being the first superhero to ever appear that it would sort of be problematic. We'd have to sort of change a lot of what we've built to fit him into a universe where supers already exist. That's why a lot of times a lot of independent creators who have their own marginally successful books, will be like, well, why don't we do a crossover? We'll just say that they never met each other, and they're like, well, no, because sort of every superhero is accounted for in our universe. So it would be weird. It's like, oh, Superman, you've been here for years, and we've just never bumped into you or talked about you, but I'm glad you're here. It really wouldn't work.
Right.
So
Right.
it really had to do with that, and it had to do with, honestly, control. Us being able to say that, we want to do this, and we didn't want to have to ask someone's permission to, blow up a small section of Chicago in one of our stories or something.
Right. And that really, that's kind of what I was going to allude to. A lot of it seems to come down to creative control.
Okay.
If you want to kill your character, if you want to do something, it's on your dime. It's like being your own contractor. You wake up at the time you want, you schedule your books, your jobs at the time you want. Awesome. All right, so for you guys, what made you guys want to produce things independently versus maybe seeking out publication through IDW or Image?
We're poor.
No.
Oh, I forgot to mention that too. Also,
Yeah.
No, that goes
No,
without saying. Yeah,
I
we're
mean-
all ridiculously broke.
because self-publishing is so cheap.
Right.
Yeah, it is, you know, God, I mean. No, I think one of the biggest reasons why we decided to do it was just, we didn't want to share it, you know, with any big conglomerate.
Right.
We know what we have is special, we know it's going places, and we're gonna bring people with us. Certain people that, you know, deserve to go
Right.
to that next level.
Right.
And the ones that we've reached out to that didn't really respond well, you just get run over by the fucking train. It's
There you
pretty much that simple, you know? And I'll let Jeff touch on that, because I dropped the F-bomb.
It's okay.
I feel complete.
Again, it's like, you know, you want to control your own destiny,
Yes.
you know.
Speak into the mic, old man.
Hello.
There you go.
We're on 4 Martini Jeff this morning. from
Yeah,
last
yeah,
night,
last
so-
night.
Oh, no,
pretty
no,
rough.
he's sober today. We have children in the crowd, so please watch the F-bomb.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, no problem.
Coming from the man who, feel free, take a seat. We're just talking about self-starting independent publishers.
Yes.
Making comic books and comic book characters on your own, without the help of Mickey Mouse or any of the big guys.
You know, it's our
He's a
idea,
Spider-Man fan.
you know, we wanted to develop.
Who owns Marvel?
Yeah, you know, we wanted to develop it. We didn't want, like you were saying, you know, we don't want somebody telling us that you should do this, or you should do that, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. We want to do what we want to do,
Right.
you know what I mean, and control that.
The kids left the room, I can drop the F-bomb again.
You know, so.
But there's kids watching at home.
And I
That's their
think,
fault.
I think it's more fun.
Right.
We're having fun.
Right,
You know,
right.
and that's really what it's all about. You know, you get your story out there, you do the best that you can, you open eyes, and you hope people catch on to what you're trying to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it anyway.
Sure, sure. For the HB Comics guys, what would you say is one of your biggest challenges in the process of independently producing your content? Do you have any one thing you're like,
Producing the
man,
content or getting it out?
what's that?
Producing the content or getting it
No,
out?
just producing the content.
Volume for us. We have, what's it, like 9 titles that are either published or in the works. And we've kind of grown organically since the beginning. When this started, it was me and Alan wrote Laserman and I draw it. So between the two of us, we sort of were able to get everything done that you would need to do. But when we started adding other titles and sort of expanding on those stories, we started to get more people that we knew in the industry, either through conventions or through just social media, MySpace back in the day.
MySpace.
We do own a MySpace page, by the way.
There you go. So
I logged on to my MySpace page and bats flew out of my monitor.
yeah, so be sure to bookmark their URLs as soon as your AOL
As well
modem
as
connects to your
Yeah.
hourly internet charge. Remember that? Hourly?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's we sort of reached out to people that we worked with on other like side projects or that we knew through other independent publishers, and you know, we started sort of building this group around us that like we're all interested in sort of doing the same thing. But now it's become like this juggling act to keep plates in the air. Because, you know, I have, you know, one title that's in sort of this stage of development. This one that like we had a colorist, but then he had to leave. This one we have a colorist, but he doesn't quite work for it. This one that we had like you know, we got messages from an inker and then he disappeared. You know, so it's like it's really about sort of keeping the plates in the air. When it's your own baby, it's sort of easy to manage, but when you start involving other people into it, you sort of have to get them to completely buy onto it.
Right.
You know, and I feel like, you know, Danny Martin's of Vindication, he completely feels partial ownership of Vindication, and he should, because he contributes so much to it that it's like it's something that we're sort of creating, and we look forward to seeing the finished result.
Sure.
But if you don't have that, then it is really hard to sell someone else your vision enough that they work on it and invest the time
Sure.
to, you know, to help you get it out.
Sure. So how much would you say of all your content is outsourced, not produced directly between the two of you?
So
We have something to do. At
Yeah.
least one of us has something to do with every single title in there.
Yeah.
So you always have your hands on it.
Yeah.
What would you say, how much of it is actually outsourced, or you bring other outside parties?
So as an example, we have, I think I mentioned 9 titles. Out of those titles, all of them are written by either myself, Alan, or our friend Kenny. I draw one of them. Every other title is illustrated by somebody who we've brought in to work with us. We have a few that are colored now by someone else, but I still do all the lettering, and I still color a couple of them. So, I mean, at this point, the only book that literally me and him can put out ourselves is Laserman. Everything else, the other 9, there's someone else doing the majority of work on those.
Well, you can only do so much yourself independently, correct?
Yeah.
And in turn, actually, considering you guys are your own publisher, you ultimately want to bring people under your umbrella, give them some stake in the project,
Yeah.
and that then now becomes an additional beacon for your cause.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've sort of, I don't know, maybe other people have coined this phrase too, but I've sort of coined the phrase that I tend to not look at us as a publisher. I look at us as a self-publishing studio. And the reason that I say that is because occasionally we'll get a message from someone who's like, oh, I have this project, can you please read the script, and then will you publish it for me? Which really translates to, oh, you guys are doing well, I don't have the money to do this, can you guys spend the money to get my thing popular? And, you know, I always tell them the same thing, right? It's like, oh my God, you know, like, I could, you
For
know.
a very large percentage, we can do that. You'll get 5% if you're lucky.
Yeah, well, I don't even go that far, and I simply answered them and say, we are not a publisher, as in we don't publish other books. If Johnny were to come to us and be like, hey, I want Surrounded by Death to be an HP comic, I'd be like, that's great, but like, you're doing all of it. Like, I have we have neither the resources nor the scope to be able to get other people's projects off the ground. We know what we're doing. We are creating our own content in studio and then self-publishing it, so that we can get it out there and control it the way that we want to. We're not a publisher and, oh, send us your project, we'll take a look at it and see if it fits.
Right on, right on. And how about you guys? What is the most you'd say is outsourced for your properties?
Basically just the artwork. You know, I can't draw a stick figure to save my life. And we've all seen Jeff in action, so.
Just the artwork, the
Drunk
little thing.
drawing is not very good usually. But
Unless
yeah,
it's
I
when
mean,
Johnny sees drinking draws.
You know,
Yeah.
we co-write everything, we co-edit everything, we storyboard everything. So basically, when we reach the artist, we just tell them, okay, this is the scene, this is what we have in mind, but you're the artist. We want you to set the pages up and do it this way. Well, what kind of bubble do you want? I don't give a shit. Here's the letters.
Right.
Make them fit.
So essentially, what you guys are doing, what you were saying you're doing, is you're leaving enough creative input for your artist.
Absolutely.
So it's not strictly just a work for hire.
The artist.
Right, exactly. It's not just work for hire. They're putting their input, their spin on it.
It's still work for hire because that's the way they want it. But we're not like a lot of other comic industries where we're like, well, we own all the rights to this. You can't do this. You can't do that.
Right.
No, man. You put your hard work. We paid you. We own the rights. But use it in your portfolio. Sell the print. Go ahead, because our logo has to be on there.
Right.
You know, and we'll push each other along.
Sure.
You know, it's not all about what we're doing. It's about what we are doing.
Right.
Including yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just the way it goes.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Now,
You see how I did that?
yeah, you included everybody. Well, and that's kind of what was going to bring me to my next point. That's kind of part of it is that, so how important would you say is networking when it comes to
I'm
being...
gonna feel that one.
Yeah, we'll go down the line starting from this side.
Yeah.
How important is networking
as
an independent producer? I'm trying to talk here. How important is
Don't
it
poke
to
the bear.
Yeah. How important is it to network with your creative peers as an independent producer and publisher?
Well, networking's huge. Everything nowadays with the internet and, you know, just this bullshit going on over here. Hi, Aaron.
Hi.
Aaron's sexy. What the fuck was I talking about?
Networking.
Oh, networking. See,
As Aaron walks in.
See, I just networked. Yeah. No, networking is one of the biggest things you can do as an indie comic because you get to know other indie comics, you get to know great people that are in the industry, more powerful people in the industry. So the more that you network them and network yourself, it's just going to bring everybody, like I said, along on that train ride. If you fall off, you get run over, tough shit, that's the way it goes. You know,
You
Hi, Aaron.
can't just sit at your table and hope to sell your book.
Yeah, let me hold that for you.
You know what I mean? You can't do it.
No.
You know, and we're very good at splitting up and walking around, and we talk to everybody.
Why are you dancing in the corner over there?
You know, everybody.
Am I supposed to get him up here now?
Yeah,
You're
you're
not
supposed to bring him
in
up
a
now.
fucking hurry?
You guys decided
You know,
something.
that's how you find your artists.
Are you in a hurry?
You know, you see their
You in a hurry?
work. They see what you're doing. You find the people that are interested. Because if, you know, in our situation, you know, we hire an artist. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's not gonna be good work.
Right.
It's gonna be run of the mill. You know, and that's how we see it.
You good? Don't.
What are you doing?
He's the worst.
Do your thing.
He's the worst. Are you kidding me? Dude's
That's Aaron.
laying down some strong knowledge, and he's like, "Hold on, I'll be right back.
I never
After
once-
these messages. I'll be right back."
I never said hold on, I ducked.
The hard thing is we're new at this.
Right.
This isn't our life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So
we're-
actually, that's a real good point. How long have you guys been doing? How long have you guys been doing this? Just tell the audience.
we came out with our first comic in April.
April.
I'm a woodworker.
There you go. How long have you guys been doing this?
We just hit our 10th anniversary last year.
Bravo, man,
You
bravo.
have two. Congratulations on that.
Bravo.
You have two very different ends of the spectrum. 10 years experience and fresh starters, and both of them are moving and shaking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt
no,
you
no,
there.
no,
but-
no, that's cool, that's cool.
Yeah.
I meant to interrupt him.
I think that was a valid point to bring up amongst networking.
Well, we had,
You
you
can-
know, when we got into this, you know, less than a year ago, literally, we had no idea what we were doing.
And we do now? Like, really?
Well, we-
I think there's no exchange that better encapsulates the indie comic
Exactly.
grassroots experience than what just happened there between these two. It's like we had no idea what we're doing. Oh, and we do now.
Well, yeah.
I think the tying back to your first question, you know, when you were talking about, you know, why not go straight to a publisher? When we first started, the convention scene was very different than it is now. And when we walked in, we would speak to people, and they were like, "Well, you know, you do this, you don't do this." There were people telling us, "It's like, oh, don't waste time coloring a comic. That's way too expensive to print. You'll never make your money back. You know, go black and white, do an ash hand."
Yeah.
Right? So we sort of like walked in and we didn't know the rules of engagement because we weren't really part of that community. So we're like, let's try this.
Yeah, and that's a huge community
Yeah.
right now. you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
It
In
really
fact,
is.
Our community that was here in Boston, they give us a lot of advice, and we seem to always be doing the opposite at that point.
Same with us.
It worked for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't want to be the everyday run-of-the-mill indie comic. You want to shake shit up. You want people to take notice. You kind of want to be in their face, to a point,
Yeah.
respectfully.
One of the first things that we did, the first show that we premiered, Laserman.
Sorry, did I just take over?
No. You've actually. This is good.
The first show that we did was Wizard World Philadelphia, and that was 10 years ago. This was
2008.
2008. And what happened is, you know, we were trying to figure out like how do we get people to know about this? And I was looking at their, you know, they have an exclusive page, and they had like a Dark Horse comic, and I think at the time it was like a Marvel comic of some sort. No, it was DC. And I was like,
Who?
I think they're a small group based
Yeah.
in Warner Brothers.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
So I literally just like I sent a message to the person that we got our artist alley table from at Wizard, and I was like, hey guys, how do we get an exclusive? Is there like a way to do it? I'm sorry for asking, like I've never done this. Do we have to pay money? Do we have to make a, like, they were like, oh, we'll send you a logo, put it on there, we'll put it on the website. And I was like, oh, okay. Next thing you know, everybody that, you know, we were talking, was like, oh my God, you have a Wizard exclusive. It's up on the site next to a DC comic and oh my God, how did you do that?
We got an NECC exclusive.
There you go. But at the time, nobody did that. And they were like amazed that all you had to do was ask.
You know, you just gotta ask. How did you get that? I asked him.
Yeah, we found that out a lot.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we found that out a lot this specific weekend. I mean, like Jeff
Yeah.
said, we're new to this. We launched in April with the comic. We decided to do 2 cons just to see how it went.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up doing 5 and solidifying some pretty big deals.
Yeah.
Because we
Just
asked.
because we asked.
And we
Yeah, yeah.
talked.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that goes back to the whole networking thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the more that you walk around and show people your face and show them that you're kind of interested in what they do, whether or not you are doesn't matter, but you got to perceive
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of really good indie stuff out there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just gotta open your eyes, you really
yeah.
do, you know? And I can't believe I'm still talking.
No, it's fun. Alan, do you have any other anecdotes for networking?
Just going back to what he says, me and Chris have always been, a lot of people consider us aggressive sellers. I mean, we.
Yes.
Grabs him, shakes him, buy the comic!
Well, we engage people. And
Yes.
the one thing we noticed, and this goes back to when we started in 2008, and still to this day, you walk around a lot of artists now, like you walk around to these independent comic book places, they got their heads down, they're drawing, you walk over, you flip through their stuff, their heads down, they're still drawing.
And they haven't engaged you once.
Sometimes they have the
Haven't looked
zone,
up.
but sometimes
Haven't even
yeah.
looked up and said hi.
Yeah, and I like that point. I definitely like that
Yeah.
point, because I see that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why when we networked, we chose a lot of people to work with, and those were the people that stopped, looked up, and said,
Yeah.
how you doing? Can I help you with something? Didn't matter what was going on in front of them. They were personable and
We don't even
respectful.
wait for that. Like
Right.
you're halfway down the
At our
aisle,
first
we're like,
con, yeah.
they're coming.
At our first con, we stood up the entire time, inviting people over,
Yeah.
talking to them. And a few people around us were like, what are you guys doing?
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, like you said, you see them walking down the aisle, you know, but they won't allow me to bring a fishing pole with a Rapala on it to grab them and pull their ass over.
You know, when we did a show, I think it was in Wizard World a couple of years after that, and you know, again, like we sort of had this joke that we would like sit next to people and be like, okay, so first of all, nice to meet you. I'm sorry. We're gonna be like really like aggressive, like
Yeah, we're gonna be
because-
loud and in your face.
Yeah, because some
I have
people
to
were like,
apologize when I walk into a room.
exactly.
I mean, seriously. I'm sorry for what you're about to witness.
I'm sorry right
Exactly.
now. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's only because you're next to me.
So true story. We had these guys who were sitting across from us. They were younger guys. They had
you trying to
something
say?
like stuck on their head. I'm saying I'm old.
Yeah,
They
join
had
the club.
they had these papers stuck to their head that says "We'll draw for beer," and they were like goofing off the entire time. And they were sort of, I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. They were like making fun of us the entire time to each other, and we could tell. And they came over and they talked to us, and they, you know, we gave them the pitch, and we could tell that they were like snickering and laughing as we were talking to them.
Did you slap him with one of the books? Because I would have.
We tried to. We gave them a card and they like ripped it up and tore it over their shoulder. A few. I'm dead serious.
Oh, that would've
This
been
is
a
true
drop
story.
kick.
True story.
I would've
Few-
drop kicked that
A few
bitch.
weeks later, they put up a podcast. Apparently, they had like this podcast that like maybe them and like 10 of their friends listened to, and the entire podcast was making fun of me and Alan.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they said, hey, check out Laser Man. And then they talked about how much they made at the con. They're like, yeah, we made like, you know, good like $50 on it. And we're like, we made like 700. And it was like, I laugh at it because like we just sort of like, I checked it because I'm vindictive that way. And they fell off the face of the planet. I don't even know if they're still doing cons. And it's like, dude, you know, like Billy Tucci and Ethan Van Sciver have drawn and we have published Laser Man by them.
Yeah.
Chris Giarusso, some like giants of the industry have drawn, and
We
George
call that name
Perez.
dropping. Lots of name dropping.
Yes. So, but my point is, because this is like, I'm just using this panel to get like a little bit of like the final say on that. It's like those guys were laughing at us because we were, check out Laser Man, hey, come over, instead of just sitting there with a sign on my head that says we'll draw for beer.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, we're still here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
With
absolutely.
what? You said 12 titles now?
Nine.
Nine titles. Laser Man number 10 is coming out next
Not
year.
worth a jack shit.
It's a long, rough night. Still, that's a long legacy of titles.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, well, let me move to the next topic. So we talked about a little bit about producing the content itself. The other half of it's marketing it.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe starting with Alan, going down the line. If you know, what would you guys do, or what do you think are your most successful approaches in marketing your book and marketing your label?
No, Chris is probably best. Chris is.
Sure. Yeah.
I tend
You
to
know,
do-
shit.
I tend to. You think that I was like the main writer because I talk so much, but like it's actually him. As far as the marketing goes, that is really like the thing that everyone's always looking for the golden ticket. Like, what's the thing that works the best? And what we've basically found every time that we've asked that question is going to conventions and speaking to people face to face is almost 100% of the time the most effective way to do marketing. You know, you put something on the shelf and people might look look at it, glance at it, pick it up, maybe they'll buy it. But if you have a minute to engage someone and talk to them directly and be like, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, this is how this all turns together. Ooh, well, let me tell you about this because we got this. And they could feel the passion coming off you, the excitement. Like, I'm excited about the stuff that we have in the pike. And when I talk to people at conventions, they can feel that and they start to get excited too. And suddenly they're like,
I'm excited right now.
Exactly, there you go.
Oh, not that way, I'm sorry.
No, that's what I meant.
Touche! Nice, nice. We should have sat next to each other because it would have been our show. You can realize that.
How about you guys? So what would you say is one of the things you guys do to market your brand?
Well, it's funny because we're marketing
go.
we're marketing in 2 different areas with what we do.
Actually,
Please elaborate.
Actually, we just reached 3. If you want to include Jewel City, the Stoner and Doom Fest. Now we're into music as well.
Well, that's true too. Just because of what we do, we get the Comic-Cons, but we're also heavily involved in the cannabis industry. Not because we sell weed, but because it's a weed comic.
Based.
Basically, and they love it. They absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So it's like we're getting pulled in these 2 different directions. So we're doing the same thing. You gotta get your face out there.
Yeah.
So I hate the city, but we go to Boston to go to the Sensi magazine parties.
Name
You
drop.
know what I mean? Name drop, yeah. And guys like Leon and all
Chris,
of these people,
yeah.
and Chris Pagel, and
Sean.
all of these people that they're latching onto what we're doing because nobody's doing it. And the networking thing. We walk into Sensi, people are like, oh, the Toking Dead dudes are here.
Yeah.
I mean, they know who
Yeah,
we are now.
Like,
Right.
what's my name?
I still don't know.
Nobody cares what you think.
So and it's fun, but we're the same people no matter whether we're at a Comic-Con or we're doing a cannabis convention.
Or doing a panel.
You know what I mean?
Or a radio show.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's the same pitch. This is who we are. This is what we do. And yeah, you're gonna fucking like it.
Yeah. And if you don't, you're still gonna like it.
And people are now
One way or
reaching
another.
out to us
Yeah.
because we got our face out there and we talk to people. Now they're talking to
Some ugly ass faces. Remember.
I got bitch flag.
Usually it's the other
We're
way
gonna
around.
smack the ugly right off of you.
So I think
Johnny got it.
one of my personal mantras is quality, consistency, and travel. And I think that's something that both of you teams do very well, is that you always put up content, like even in the few months that you guys have been
Why are
around.
you telling about people me putting out? That's our secret,
Well,
Johnny.
man, people got to know that they come knock at your door and,
One
get a
saying
little
you're
of that good
excited.
stuff. So you have to think,
Hashtag
like,
put out.
Let them talk.
in the time frame that
Hashtag
in the time frame that you guys have been hustling comics and doing that stuff, you not only do you have the comic book, but you also put out a novel to go along with it.
Yes.
Well,
Yes, we put out.
It was originally written as in book form.
Mm-hmm.
I got them all fucked up.
Seriously, it was written in book
No,
form.
yeah, it was.
Because we just sat down and wrote a story.
Right,
The comic came later.
right.
But the comic, people, we feel that now they want to know the rest of the story.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Do they really?
Did you
So-
get a gummy this morning?
So I mean,
Yeah,
just to
could you
just to
tell?
recap. So you'd say quality is your product, that you're bringing comics to the cannabis industry
Well-
where there really is very few.
Yes.
Consistency, so you're doing it
Networking,
often,
and
networking,
marketing
and
play the
pumping out,
same.
producing
Yes.
content, and then
Yep.
travels. You guys are getting around. You especially.
Oh man, getting around. I feel
Yeah.
like
So-
a doorknob.
You gotta get your
Right.
face out there, you have
Yeah.
to.
Right. So HB Comics, for the mantra of quality, consistency, and travel. You guys have several titles, each equally awesome. I've read Mystery Man, love it. Laser Man's great. Team Synergy is probably one of the. I feel like it's one of those books that's like ready to pop. It's just waiting because you have this really great superhero team of girls, and like that's kind of like the women's like hero movement's kind of happening now a little bit, which is great. Not to say it wasn't happening before, but it's kind of flourishing more now.
Yeah.
So I feel like you guys kind of are ahead of the curve in that as well. And then travel, I mean, I see you guys everywhere. and even independently too. So you, Chris, you do stuff on your own as well, right?
Yeah, well, not as much anymore, but because I've kind of, it's funny, you said that you do woodworking.
Yes.
I've actually, I was making cosplay accessories for a while, and that started to die down, and what I did is I got like now a laser cutter, so I'm actually doing laser cut MDF scenery for wargaming.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that's kind of what I'm doing more, and there's a lot less of a call for it at conventions, because, again, traveling, it costs a lot of money to travel, and it's like, there were cons that I'd, like, be walking home and, like, counting the money, and be like, "Whew, this was amazing," and then I'll do 2 cons after that where I lose $200 each, and I'm like,
Yep, right,
okay.
You're back to zero.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
back to zero.
So
Yep.
it's a struggle, and me and Alan have established sort of a brand with HB Comics, so we keep doing that at different cons. But I feel like between devoting my energies to getting the HB Comics books done, and to my own business and making wargaming stuff, it leaves very little time to do, like, I'm gonna do a deco for my Hero Academia print because that's selling. So I feel like a lot of my prints now, like, are sort of a step behind what's current, and I can't devote the energy to all 3. So I'm really focusing more on HB Comics when it comes to conventions.
Right on. Excellent, excellent. So I think I probably have time for about one more question before we're going to do a special announcement. If you could impart any wisdom upon any other self-starters out there in the audience or people watching online, what would you suggest? What could you give them from each of you, starting here with Ben? What wisdom would you impart to somebody? And now, mind you, again, 2 ends of the spectrum. You guys are just getting started, and these guys have been in the game for 10 years now. What type of wisdom would you provide or would you impart?
So this is similar to a question that Lewis